Welcome to Write with Love. I'm your host, Sarah Williams, best-selling author, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. Each week, I chat to passionate and inspiring authors about their journey in creative writing. Some are traditionally published, some do it themselves. Everyone's journey is different, and everyone has something interesting to say. We all love love and love what we do. Today's show is brought to you by our amazing fans and supporters on Patreon. If you'd like to help support the show and get some awesome bonus episodes, go to patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author to learn more. Now here's today's show. G'day, I'm Sarah Williams. Thanks for joining me for episode 31 of Write with Love. I'm recording this on Thursday, the 19th of July, 2018. My kids are back at school, yay! So I'm back into routine and writing another novel. This one is set here in Mullaney in Queensland's Sunshine Coast on a dairy farm. I'm hoping to release it before Christmas this year, so I'll be doing a lot of writing on planes since I'm heading to Auckland in a few weeks for the Romance Writers of New Zealand conference, then Sydney for the Romance Writers of Australia cocktail party. So a shout out to Catherine Hine, whose latest book, Elsa's Stand, came out earlier this month. I always enjoy Catherine's stories and I look forward to chatting to her in a future episode. I'm also enjoying reading Meant to Be by Melody Grace. It's a free ebook, which is the first in her Sweetbriar Cove series. I'm enjoying it because the heroine is a romance writer and she's dealing with writer's block and, of course, her own happily ever after. So if you're looking for another great read, those are my suggestions. And if you're an author who would like a shout out, contact me or become a patron at www.patreon.com/Sarah Williams Author. Congrats also to Kim Gilly, who won the competition I recently ran on my Facebook page. She will be receiving a signed print copy of each of my novels. I hope you enjoy those, Kim, and thanks to everyone who entered. There will be another awesome competition coming up next week after I chat to Helene Young. Keep an eye out on the Write with Love Facebook page for those details. Romance Writers of America conference is happening in Denver as I record this, and by the time it airs, we will know the results of the RITA competition. Last week's interview was with double nominee Amy Andrews, and this week I chat to another Aussie nominee, Avril Tremayne. Fingers crossed for both you lovely ladies. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye. Today I'm chatting to 2017 Ruby Award winner and 2018 RITA finalist Avril Tremayne. Thanks for joining me, Avril.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, you say in your bio that your hallmark is fast-paced, witty banter, which can tend toward the screwball, delivered with a strong emotional punch. I love that.
It's quite strange to hear it said back, actually, but it is true.
That's so awesome. So tell us about how you got into writing and your journey so far.
Well, I think like most writers, I've been writing. Well, I wanted to be a writer my whole life. Probably I have a thing about Jane Eyre, and when I read that as a teenager, it kind of ignited all sorts of strange passions in me, and I've been thinking about becoming a writer ever since then. But, life often gets in the way. So I think I consider my writing career in two tranches. The first one was when I was probably in my 20s, when I had a good go at it, which came to nothing, and I have some fairly hideous manuscripts tucked away that will never see the light of day from that period. And then my career took off, and I had a fairly strenuous, stressful career, and really I kept writing all the way through, but I wasn't really, didn't have my heart and soul into it because I was so preoccupied with work. So when I came, I had my last corporate job was over in the Middle East, and when I came back to Australia after 3 years there, I found that I had a little bit of time to think about what I would do next and take a breath. And that year was 2013. I entered the Harlequin So You Think You Can Write competition, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got my first contract. I entered two books. That was a particular year. They had two competitions, one which was for the main competition and one which was for new adult stories. I won the new adult one. I was one of six winners, and I was a top 10 finalist in the other. And I don't know, I think that at that particular time of my life, all the lessons I'd learned about writing somehow coalesced and, you know, did to me, I suppose. And I'd made a deal with my husband that I'd give it a shot for a year and see if I could get a book accepted. And if I did, then I'd really have a crack at it. So that's it. That's me. Here I am.
Oh wow! So it was because you entered.
Weeks later.
So it was because you entered that competition that you got the deal through that.
Yes, I got a publishing contract for one of the books straight off, and that was part of the prize. And for the top 10 finalist book, which was my first book, Here Comes the Bridesmaid, a book I still love. That book was a top 10 finalist in the main So You Think You Can Write competition, and I got a contract for that one as well.
Oh, wow.
And that was it. I mean, it's kind of like sometimes you just need a bit of burst of luck, and I got mine. Yeah. And those books both came out in 2014.
Oh, wow. So did you submit to slush piles before doing that?
Oh, yeah. Yes, of course. Back in that first go of having written, trying to have a go at it, I submitted quite a few books, quite a few dreadful books, and actually quite a few books that I still don't mind. But, I think I made the chronic mistake of many authors when they first start out in forcing my characters to do things. So if I go back to those early books and read them now, they're still well written. They're still quite good stories, but there's all sorts of drama going on that's driven by me, the author, not by the characters, and I can quite plainly see why they didn't make it. A category romance, I'll tell you, they are the hardest books to write. Yeah. The hardest. Hands down, the hardest books to write. You have got your hero and heroine on the page almost 100% of the time. Very little room to play. Every word has to count. Yeah. So what is the reader picking up a romance for? They're picking it up for the hero and heroine. And in a 50,000 to 60,000 word book, that's you are giving them those two and not much else. A single title book, you have a little more room to play. You can have a bit of fun with their friends, off the side, as long as it's still driving the story. But the process for me, no. Sometimes it would take me as long to write a 50,000 word book as it takes to write a 95,000 word book. It just depends.
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. So Escaping Mr. Right won the Ruby last year, 2017, for the Romance Writers of Australia. Now, it was really funny because I didn't know you before that, and I went to conference last year in Brisbane, and I was sitting at a table and everyone was like stood up and they were so excited when you won that.
I was pretty excited myself.
It would have been fantastic. And everyone was turning to me, oh my God, I read that book. It's so good. She so deserved to win. And I'm just like, what? Who's she? And they're like, you must read that book. If you don't read anything else, that is the book you have to read.
That's lovely to hear.
So it was so funny. I said, well, if you're all saying that, I better buy it. So I picked up my phone, Amazon, there you go, buy it. Oh, fantastic. So tell us about Escaping Mr. Right. Give us a little insight.
Okay, well, that is a book 2 in a series. It started life very interestingly as a NaNoWriMo project. I had written, the first book in the series is called Wanting Mr. Wrong, a book that came out of one of my last jobs, actually, when I got a massive crush on Matthew McFadden, who plays Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice, my favourite adaptation. And I am not the type of person to get a crush on a celebrity, but I was absolutely, drooling over this guy. And it was I was so obnoxious about it. My whole team of PR people kept, stirring me up a little bit and giving me photos of him and helping me cyber stalk, etc. So I decided I'd write that book. I actually started that book in one of my last jobs, but didn't finish it until relatively recently, I suppose. But there were 3 friends in that book, 2 girls and a guy, and I always wanted to write, 3 books. The 3rd book's not out yet. So I started the 2nd book as a NaNoWriMo project, and I keep saying was that the first? That's my first ever time of doing NaNoWriMo. For people who don't know what that is, it's National Novel Writing Month, and it happens in November, and you write 50,000 words from the 1st to the 30th of November, and it is bloody difficult to do. I don't write by word count, so to me this is excruciating. So I finished that month with 50,000 words. They were atrocious words. It was the biggest mess you have ever seen. So that was the end of November, and I just had to keep pegging at it. I think I finally submitted it to Penguin Random House probably about March or April. And by then I was really, really happy with it. And then I had an amazing editor at Penguin Random House who suggested a few changes. It was up to around 75,000 words by then. And it was a brilliant, brilliant story. And I don't know what it is about that book. I mean, a lot of people don't like reading first-person stories. So that's probably one reason why I was so shocked it actually was the Ruby Prize winner, because it was book 2 in a series. It was written in the first person, and it really is a romantic comedy. Now, all my books are romantic comedy, but they finish up with quite a lot of emotional intensity. So, when you think about an award-winning book, it's not really the first thing that kind of combination is not really the first thing that would hit you in the head. So, needless to say, I was shocked, but it does seem to hit a really good place for many people, and that makes me absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, that's so cool to hear too, that you can't actually say, yeah, that's why it's so good.
Why is it so good? I don't know. I mean, I think it's because it's kind of like an unusual story? It's set a bit in Australia and a bit in Manila. It's got a really tough rugby league playing hero, and the heroine is a journalist who's pretty, I wouldn't say uptight, she's very super controlled as a result of the way she grew up. So she likes control, and she has an image of perfection, and the hero is not obviously that image. There's a weird kind of love triangle in there, and I don't know, it's just, I'm not really a plotter, so when I start writing a book I just usually start with how the hero and heroine meet, and in this instance they met a year before the book began, but the meeting of the book starts on a cruise, end of year rugby league cruise in Sydney Harbour, which to me sounds ghastly, to be honest. But anyway, there we are. What can I say? It all just happened. That's how my books, they usually you go through the first draft and you're tearing out your hair because it's so vile, and then suddenly it all comes together. I can't explain it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So talk about writing romantic comedy. I mean, you must just be a hilarious person to be able to write. I know I couldn't do it.
I have my moments. Romantic comedy, what does it take? Okay, you have to really let yourself go. But interestingly enough, the humour doesn't really happen in the first draft for me. It happens after I've got to know the characters. Usually on the second draft through, you can start to see some funny stuff. That's because life is funny. When I think about all the times, the great times and the not so great times I have with my husband, it's the times we're laughing that are the best. And for me, people often ask you, what is it about a man that's attractive? It's always someone who makes me laugh. And I like the humour is a really intimate thing for me. And it's, you don't really go in off the bat and crack jokes. It's not about cracking jokes. It's about humour in the situation and finding the light moments that you can really understand someone. If they've got your sense of humour, you know you're on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's fun to write. When I'm reading, if I'm not having a laugh, I'm pretty, I have to have a couple of laughs, even as a reader. Even if the book is not a comedy, I need to have a few laughs going through.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Well, I can tell you what there's a blog I wrote once called, what was it called? Romantic Comedy and the Black Moment. Because in every romance there is a turning point. And I once saw a play. I think this play is stuck in my mind and really does. I think it describes my writing process. It was called The Beauty Queen of Lynn. It's an Irish play, and it is, you're sitting in there. I mean, this play blew me away. I was sitting in the audience, and I was laughing and laughing and laughing. And then there's this turning point where I'm actually getting chills thinking about it right now, where it's not funny at all. And it is, and to me, that is the power of romantic comedy, is that it can lull you into something where you think, oh, that's kind of lighthearted, and then if you twist it, it makes the intensity that much more vibrant, and that's what I try to do in my books.
Oh wow!
There's always a point where it's not funny anymore, and that's when it can end up funny again, but that's when the development between the romantic development really kicks in, and it gets really serious.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hope I haven't put anyone off reading my books, because they are.
Oh, thought-provoking and escapism. I love it. We should talk about the heat level in case anyone does want to run out there.
Oh yeah, they're all sexy. All my books have got sex.
Excellent. So sexy. If you
some more than others. I'm going to say probably. Oh, I've got two. I've got 3 Harlequin Dares coming out. They are very, very hot books. Aside from those, I've got one Harlequin book called The Millionaire's Proposition that is very, very steamy. I think my editor said that when she read that, it was the hottest category romance she'd ever read.
Oh, wow.
So there you go. So if you're looking for a really hot read, that is the one. But there's also, I have a book with Penguin Random House called Now You're Mine, which is very, very, very hot. So, they've all got sex, but I say not. I'm a reader who can actually skip over sex scenes quite easily if they are not emotional or funny. But if they're just in there because you have to have a sex scene, there's no point.
I want to read a funny erotic.
Oh yes! Oh God! I'll definitely read. Oh gee, definitely read. I think The Millionaire's Proposition is pretty funny. I think Now Your Mine's pretty funny too. Yeah. It's got some very, very funny moments, because in Now Your Mine the heroine is pretty. She's a bit of a smart ass girl from Boston, and she goes to the Middle East. This book is my love song to the Middle East. Yeah. And she goes to to review a resort, her first time out of America, and she ends up at the hero's house. He is, of course, a billionaire, living in a palatial, gorgeous abode in the middle of the Abu Dhabi desert. And so she stumbles upon him, and they have this really hot, intense night, and then she goes back to Boston and he follows her, and it is really quite. I think what people love about that book is that he is so determined. And this is something that this book has it in common with Escaping Mr. Right, and they both review really well on this point, that that the hero knows what he wants, and he is very single-minded in his pursuit of the heroine. And not in a horrible stalking way, but he is very determined that she knows how he feels, and he's not hiding a thing. There are other books where you get to the end and the hero, and the whole big reveal is the fact that the hero tells the heroine he loves her. Well, this is not the case in either of these books, and it actually makes for a very steamy time and a lot of laughs.
Yeah, Excellent. Sounds great. So 2018 is a big year for you. You've been shortlisted for the RITA, which is the Romance Writers of America big competition. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And that one's for the dating game. Are you going to Denver to see if you win?
I am indeed. Now, I'm working my way through the RITA. I'm reading all my competitors at the moment. There are some cracking good reads in there, so I'm not going to be depressed if I come home without the trophy, because I keep saying to my husband, oh, this book could you easily win. We're going to go to the next one. Oh, this is a great story. This is really going to win. Anyway, what can you do? They're fantastic authors. I'm in the mix with over there. Fantastic.
Yeah, we've Aussies have done really well this year in the readers. There's you, there's Amy Andrews, and you know it's a good year for us. So I hope good luck with that, and gosh, that will be just amazing. So the dating game. Tell us about the dating game.
Well, that happens to be my favourite book, and a lot of authors won't tell you this, but I'm pretty upfront about it. I love all my books for various reasons, but the dating game. I mean, I guess I've got two books that flew out of my head onto the page. The first one was Here Comes the Bridesmaid, and The Dating Game is the other one. And it is very funny. It is really a rom-com. It's got a romantic comedy plot that would be perfect on the screen. It's actually, this came out of one of my jobs too. There was a year when I was working in aviation, and I had a really fantastic team working with me. And one of the girls, beautiful, clever woman, she decided she wanted to find her husband. So that year, she got everyone involved. She decided she was going to say yes to every man who asked her out. And she is a lovely person, and as well as a very beautiful one. So she was getting asked out a lot. So then she had the whole of us working, looking at her emails, how to respond to this guy, should she go out there, critiquing the dates, etc., for the whole year. And that year was absolutely hilarious. And that's the idea behind the dating game, where I've got the heroine, who is a PR person. She decides that she's sick of getting dumped every 3 weeks. That's what happens on average. So she needs someone to teach her how to date. What is she doing wrong? And so she runs into this hot guy at a art event. It's an art event and a gallery opening, and they do a deal. He wants to be he's a budding artist. She's shocking with dates. He will teach her how to date properly if she will pose for his painting. Oh. Anyway, it's much more complicated than that. But there is the plot. That's the plot is them working through this. Of course, there are other things at play. One of her best friends fancies herself in love with the hero, so she's got a bit of a girl code thing happening. Sarah, the heroine, her brother hates the hero because her brother is in love with her best friend. I mean, can you see the screwball all over it, right? So there are mixed messages and people in love with each other, and the hero, he's really a very experienced man, older than the heroine, and older in life terms as well as in age. He is completely bowled over that he's falling in love with this girl and does not want a bar of it. So it's really quite. I mean, I'm not doing it justice. It is so funny. One of the early readers of this book said to me, I remember this till I dropped dead, that this is the first book she's ever read where she could see them falling in love. Oh. And she could completely understand how they would end up together. That doesn't happen that often.
Yeah.
It's just so unforced. It just rolled out of me, that book. I just love it. So for it to the RITA. I mean, like always, I did not expect this to be nominated because it is a pretty zany story, and it's a book too, and it's a romantic comedy. I think it's the only romantic comedy in the long romance section. I've got 2 more to read, so I'm not 100% on that, but it's just a really light-hearted, rompy kind of book that, of course, turns intense towards the end. And I was so thrilled for it to be a finalist. My favourite book. I mean, so thrilled.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely fantastic, and I've got my phone right here. I'm about to download it. Now it sounds awesome.
It's just I can't speak highly enough about that book. Look, just because it's my favourite doesn't mean it's going to be everyone else's, even of my own books. But it was so much fun to write, and I still can read that. I've read that book a million times, and I still laugh, and I still bawl my eyes out towards the end.
Oh,
so
that's awesome.
What can I say?
Oh, well, all the best for that one. And so what's out next if we've already read everything else of yours? Is there something else coming out soon?
Oh, I've got my first Harlequin Dare comes out. It's on the shelves in Australia, New Zealand, the UK, late July, and it's everywhere on ebook on the 1st of August. And I call that my secret baby story without the secret. It is a very hot story. It's my first friends to lovers story. And it's the first of a trilogy which are called the Reunions series, because the basic premise for all 3 of the books arises from a group of friends who met at college in Washington, D.C. 10 years ago, and now they're kind of meeting up. So the first story, which is Getting Lucky, that is as I said, that's a friends to lovers, two people who, she probably has been hankering for him ever since they met, and he's pretty he's not standoffish. He cares about her too much to be involved with her, is the basic premise. And then the second book, which is Getting Even, that comes out on the 1st of November. Super, super hot. That is Second Chance at Love. These two get a mention in book 1, but they don't actually appear. And then the third book, which I have just submitted and I'm just about to start revisions on, that book is called Getting Naughty and is my favourite of the 3. That comes out February, I think. Very, very crazy story. A little bit different, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit different. Back to my favourite, Opposites Attract.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, that's definitely given us all a lot to read and to download now. So go and do that, people. And we can find you online. Your website is?
My website is avriltremaine.com. I think I'm the only Avril Tremayne in the world, so it's not too hard to find me. And, of course, I'm on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, and you can get to all of those accounts via my website.
Yeah, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Avril. That was really fun.
My pleasure. It's always fun to talk books.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the show. Jump onto my website, sarahwilliamsauthor.com, and join my mailing list to receive a free preview of my books and lots of other inspiration. If you like the show and want it to continue, you can become a sponsor for just a couple of dollars a month. Go to patreon.com/sarahwilliamsauthor. And remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and leave a review of the podcast. I'll be back next week with another loved up episode. Bye!